Happy New Year, shitlords. Today I'm joined by the moist guardian of moist land. Anyway, take it away, Omegon.
So, you ready for this?
Oh yeah, I'm ready for this.
Fantastic. Pressing play.
I'm a male feminist because women are oppressed.
I too am a male, but also a chronic sandwich eater, because I like nothing more than to oppress all the women's.
I'm a male anti-feminist because women are not oppressed. You see how this works? Also because Omegon ate all the sandwiches and we need more.
Want me to go into more detail?
Sure, it would be nice to get this video over 1 minute long at least before I give up on you.
You see, I'm familiar with the feminist definition of more detail, but more detail usually means the same amount of detail, but much more loudly. So, I'm about ready to give up on him now.
Then so be it.
Yay.
I'm a male feminist because women are oppressed.
I feel like you've said that already.
Apart from the volume level, I'm going to say my prediction of more detail pretty much hit the nail on the head.
I'm a feminist because we live in a world where Sharia law exists.
Well, look at that. Something that isn't the fault of the straight white man.
Oh, give them time, Omegon. I'm sure they'll blame it on crusades or colonialism or something like that. Not that the religion predates both those things by a good long while. I'm sure the white man is to blame somehow.
Even though women in the Western world are not oppressed.
Whoa. Let's just hold the presses for a second. Let's make sure we didn't misunderstand that.
Even though women in the Western world are not oppressed.
Hallelujah. A feminist that finally agrees with this. I'm almost overwhelmed with joy.
They sure as hell are in the Middle East. Women are seen as less than half as important as a man under Sharia law.
I feel it's important to ask you this early on. What would you, as a male feminist, do to fix this? What would you do to correct Sharia law existing? What would you do to stop the religious ideology from oppressing an entire gender? Let's not say for 1 second that both genders aren't oppressed, but let's face it, women are clearly more oppressed.
Well, obviously he's going to make videos on a platform that will have absolutely no impact on the area of the world he's complaining about, Omegon.
I'm a feminist because women get paid less than men and in most cases don't get paid at all.
Are you talking about the West yet, or are you still talking about the Middle East? I get the feeling it's the Middle East.
I don't even think he knows anymore, but given that's not the case in the West, I'm going to give him the benefit of the doubt and assume he's talking about the Middle East.
Women are required permission from either their husband or parents to go to work.
This doesn't make me want to be a feminist any more than I have ever wanted to before. All it makes me want to do is highlight how unfair people are treated there. Attack Islam more often, because it is that keeps people down. You don't need feminism for that. You need 2 brain cells.
That is asking a lot of these people, Omegon.
Not only that, but if they do, they are required to wear hijab whilst being in public.
I was always led to believe by Muslims in the West that the hijab was optional, but of course I have seen videos of people telling others to wear hijabs in public in very predominantly Muslim countries.
Yep, I've seen the same kind of thing, but it strikes me more of I could take this burqa off any time I want. I just don't want to. You know, that kind of heroin addict kind of deal.
I'm a feminist because the wage gap exists.
No, it doesn't. The earnings gap is a real thing. The wage gap is not.
You know, I think we're going to have to do a video on this because I'm so fucking sick of this wage gap myth plaguing society. It's even been headlining on the BBC fucking news channel.
No, not in the Western world.
There I was thinking you'd moved on. Yet again, though, I have to ask, because it seems to be something that you're not going to answer, and I want to keep pointing it out. What will you do to solve this?
Not even you specifically. What would be your general plan of action as a way to solve the problem faced by women in Muslim countries?
But it definitely does under the practice of Islam.
Do you believe the might of feminism stands a chance against the might of Islam? Which victim do you think is going to be the winner in that particular oppression Olympic event?
I'm a feminist because we live in a world where the patriarchy exists.
Okay, if the patriarchy did exist, then women would be oppressed. That goes with the definition of a patriarchal society. But this guy has said, in his own words, that women in the West are not oppressed. So by extension, we cannot live in a patriarchy.
Sure, women in the Western world are free to do whatever they want. Those under Sharia law are forced into their marriage before they were even born.
Yeah, these things may have been planned before women were born, but I don't recall many fetuses being forced down the aisle. Do they even have aisles in Muslim marriages, or is that a little bit too Western capitalism for them?
Are they really? Are girls really assigned a husband before they're even born? That's impressive. It's very efficient. I'm kind of glad we abolished arranged marriages in our country, though.
That also raises an interesting point. Islam is pretty old. I'm going to hazard a guess that it's a little bit older than ultrasound scans. How do they arrange marriages before the child is born, before they're entirely sure of the sex of the baby? Because I imagine that would result in a pretty awkward situation in the delivery room if it turned out to be a boy.
Women have no say in who they can marry and no say in who they can have sex with. And worst of all, they have no rights when it comes to getting a divorce.
I'm not entirely sure how many times I've said this, but what would you as a male feminist do to fix this? What will you do to abolish Sharia law? What will you do to abolish arranged marriages? What will you do to give women workers' rights and the freedom to go to work without having to get permission from their families?
YouTube videos, obviously. It's more than most virtue signalers do these days. Now they just tweet to fix the world.
I'm a feminist because refugees and ideologies are turning our Western culture into a rape culture.
While I don't want to look to others to blame for what has happened and why some refugees have been behaving in a way that is very unacceptable. Certainly within our culture, it is unacceptable. You do have to look to those who have allowed this to happen, opened their borders and flooded their nations, put strain not only on the space but the population, the benefit system itself, the housing. Look to those people who allowed this to happen and what ideologies they subscribe to, if you want to blame someone anyway.
You see, I'm okay with placing blame. It's not the fault of the average citizen who's been screwed over by the migrant crisis. A mass immigration of a completely different, incompatible culture was always going to end in love and tickle fights.
They are forcing themselves into our society, beating and raping our women to death. Not one, not 10, but the assault of hundreds of women. And the worst part is, places like Germany are 100% okay with this happening because they don't want to be labeled as racist for speaking out.
Yeah, there are quite a few rumours in Germany that if you have any right-leaning ideas, you're labelled a Nazi as a way of silencing you, as if being more conservative is a bad thing, something that has bitten Angela Merkel on the backside.
It's just variations on a theme. Every regressive movement has their own version. I'm apparently a misogynistic shitlord, which couldn't be further from the truth. Just ask the women at my local strip club. I love each and every one of them equally.
I'm a feminist because women have been beaten into submission to accept the practice of Islam without question. Women under Sharia law are nothing more than items up for auction.
Since feminism in its current state is more of a Russian doll in that there are victims inside victims inside victims, everything's a victim except the straight white man, I yet again have to ponder, what can you do to stop this? We do a lot on our end. Certainly in the West, we do a lot to police this. But in those countries where this is considered acceptable, what are we in the West supposed to do to counter this? Sanctions only go so far. Do you go to war? What do you do?
The situation is extremely complicated and delicate. There will never be a one-size-fits-all solution that everybody is happy with.
I'm a feminist because third-wave feminism is an insult to the very ideology of feminism.
The original feminist movement, yeah, though I imagine third-wave feminists would tear strips off you for thinking that.
I thought it was on its fourth wave now.
I lose track. It could be.
First world entitled brats have ruined the movement as a whole because idiots like Anita Sarkeesian are seen as the voice of feminism.
And why do feminists flock to their channels and lap up the shit that they peddle? Why doesn't the feminist community speak out against these idiots? Look at the general anti-SJW community. We don't have this protect anyone that uses the label mentality. When someone fucks up, they get told on no uncertain terms that they fucked up. I mean, look at the whole atheist gamer situation. Why do feminists pander to these idiots and give them a platform? It's because the vast, vast majority agree with everything they have to say and would simply accuse you of mansplaining.
Then why do you call yourself a male feminist if you know the label is tarnished, toxic, broken, defamed, devalued?
I'm a feminist because the assholes I just spoke about have no idea what feminism truly is.
Why do I feel like I'm about to be spammed in the face with a dictionary definition?
And yet, according to people like Jonathan McIntosh, no one feminist truly speaks on behalf of all feminists. Therefore, things like the definition become ambiguous. Certainly motivations do.
I'm a feminist because those who need feminism under all of these circumstances are unable to obtain it.
Then take it to them. Show them the light that shines out of Anita Sarkeesian's bottom.
I'm a feminist because we as a human species allow people to spread ideologies that cause harm to others.
Well, you can't tell me feminism is the right one.
My version of feminism should be the only ideology allowed. Considering it's a movement which originally campaigned for the freedoms of one demographic, that's an extremely rigid opinion.
Not just women, but other races, ethnicities, and cultures.
I feel now's a good time to bring up intersectional feminism. Not sure why, but it feels appropriate.
Yeah, if these idiots ever start running the world, I'm going to play the racial fluid card and say I identify as a black woman with an afro.
Lastly, I'm a feminist because if I titled this video I'm an egalitarianist, none of you SJWs would even bother clicking on it.
Well, I fall into the bracket of anti-SJW, I don't identify with the label, and I clicked on it, but mostly because you said I'm a male feminist, and that interests me.
Yeah, I think this guy rustled quite a few jimmies with this video. But the strange thing is he sounds like he hasn't got his head all the way up his arse.
I will say it's not egalitarianist, it's egalitarian, and if you wanted to get their attention a little more, you should go with I am colourblind. That seems to trigger quite a few at the moment.
Well, I actually am partially colourblind. Is that a disability? Do I qualify for a Tumblr account? Ugh, the thought of that just made me feel dirty.
Well, this has been good fun.
Oh, absolutely. Lots of fun.
Thanks for having me on again, mate.
Anytime, my moist friend. So, lovely viewers, if SJWs did manage to take over the world, what would you blend in as? I'll put the answers that make me laugh the most at the end of my next video, and as always, thank you for your time.
Tally-ho.